everybody. This is episode 7. Wow, that is very, very, very quick. So for those that are watching us on our YouTube playlist, yes, this is also a podcast. So if
Hi.
you're driving and you do not want to have the phone on, which you shouldn't anyway, by the way. You shouldn't be watching anything other than driving. So you could always play the podcast. We're on SoundCloud at the moment.
PSA.
Okay? Anyway, so today's topic is super interesting. I know I say this every week, but we try to find very relevant topics about the industry. And today is definitely a topic about GIA and synthetic diamonds.
Yes.
Okay, and the reason why I say that is because GIA has now officially created a course specifically to help jewelers or anybody that wants to actually join the course to be able to identify if a diamond is a synthetic diamond or a natural diamond.
What?
Right, and so yeah, what? So
Thanks for not ignoring that.
No, I don't ignore things ever. So
That's nice.
so the so that just obviously it didn't blow my mind. GIA is definitely to me anyway. I just want to disclose I don't work for GIA. I just went to GIA. It's a school that I went to in order to study gemology and so on. But I definitely vouch for them because I definitely believe that they are a true leader in the space of educating people in the business or just anyone that is a hobbyist or anybody that wants to learn jewelry. I believe that GIA is the top leading
Something to
force.
be proud of.
Something to be proud of. So with that said, I had no doubt in my mind that eventually this course will be available to identify synthetics. But the bigger picture is this: why are they doing it? Right, so that was what's important to me, and so I think about it and I'm analyzing and deciphering the situation. Well, obviously they're doing it because there are so many synthetics out there now that the business world that are in the industry, the jewelry industry, should be able to know who they're working with. Or there should be awareness to be provided to the consumers who are buying natural diamonds if they want to make sure that it's not a synthetic. If they want to make sure that the people that they're working with is actually truthful, then there is actually a course out there. Or if you do want, then you could definitely send your diamonds into GIA. Obviously, if they teach it, they know how to identify, and they could be able to tell you whether it's a synthetic or not. And many people may not know this, when there's a synthetic diamond that is sent into GIA, the report will indicate if it's been HPHT or high pressure, high temperature, which is the indicator that's a synthetic diamond.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But before starting off, let's talk about that article that was written here at the National Jeweler. I believe this is towards the end of 2017. And, won't you just kind of go over it for the audience or whoever's listening as to what the article's about?
Yeah, well, I don't have it in front of me. But
well, just brief overview. Yeah.
Right, so basically someone had sent in a diamond that had an inscription that meant that it was a natural diamond, but upon further investigation through the lab at GIA, they found that the specs actually matched up with not a natural diamond, but a lab-grown diamond. And that the specs that you can read on the article there are basically what deciphered it from being natural, but also that they through a machine, they were able to see that it was put through a high pressure, high temperature process, as you mentioned. That is something that you cannot really see, by eye. Like even a skilled jeweler or trained gemologist cannot distinguish by sight alone. I think that was in the man-made diamond article found on GIA also. Would you be able to, see it by eye or at all?
To identify a synthetic diamond versus a natural diamond is extremely difficult unless you send it into a lab.
Right,
Only because it requires very sophisticated equipment,
right,
and different ways of actually identifying.
And like a trained staff, right?
Right, a trained staff with the right equipment. So it's not just something that you can glance or put it through a loop and be able to quickly identify it. It's very sophisticated these days on how these diamonds are created, and that's the reason why, in my F&B Geminar, I've stated over and over again that the only difference between a lab diamond versus a natural diamond is that it is made by man. I mean, it's man-made.
Right.
It's
Controlled
it's
environment.
within a controlled environment, but the actual chemical compound is made of almost 100% carbon, regardless if it's natural or not. So it's very difficult to actually identify it unless it's again sent into a lab. So with that said, I mean, I think what people are probably questioning at the moment based on this article is like, well, why would anyone send a diamond into a lab that was inscribed? Because how does that even work? So this is how it basically works. Okay, so anybody and everybody, not just businesses, and maybe a lot of people may not know this, may send their natural diamond to a
I didn't know
laboratory,
this.
right? You obviously have to pay a fee to get it reported. Okay, so I can speak on how GIA does it. Basically, it's sent to GIA. They will grade it based on color, clarity, and the works, right? And then if you want it to, and every report will have a GIA report number. If you want the inscription of the report number, then you can pay an extra fee and have that inscribed on the girdle of the diamond. Okay. Now, with that said, the reports can be found online. It is public information. So in other words, if you are to buy a natural diamond from a jeweler and that jeweler provides you with the report, you can go on GIA, look up the actual report and see if the report matches. What may be happening for I guess people or even businesses out there that are being untruthful is that they can easily find a report that has already been reported, grab that report number, inscribe a lab diamond with the same report number, and the buyer may not even know it. So the only way to actually be able to identify it is that buyer, if they are curious enough or I guess paranoid in a way, they can send the diamond in to GIA. GIA will be able to use their records and database of when that diamond was originally reported and be able to identify if that's the same diamond or not. So without getting to too much detail of how it works, there are certain things that you can use to identify diamonds, such as the clarity positions, right? So if there are inclusions, then you can identify if those inclusions are the same at the same exact spots and so on to identify the same diamond. Now, so for this case, they were able to identify that this diamond was definitely a synthetic diamond and not the original diamond that was reported.
That's really important because
Right.
there is a definite price difference between the two, right?
Absolutely, and that's where I guess people that may be doing this that's where they're making the premium, right? So a synthetic diamond can be anywhere between 30 to 50% less, or maybe even more than a natural diamond. Again, synthetic diamonds are man-made, so if it is created inside of a lab, then it's a controlled environment, and therefore ultimately it can be a controlled cost, which will reduce the price. So that's the case, and the whole point of this conversation is just more or less bring awareness of these type of things, because if our audience is actually listening and they are interested in buying a natural diamond, I think that, well, first of all, to combat the issue on how to make sure that this diamond is synthetic or not, so number one, obviously go with a trusted jeweler, right? Go with someone that you can trust, someone that has credibility in the business, someone that's been around for a long time, because businesses that's been around for a long time, they're not going to jeopardize what they've built in the last 10, 20, 30 years over one transaction. It doesn't make any sense.
What is a long enough time?
A long enough time to me anyway is, first of all, at least I would say at least 5 years, right? At least 5 years. Number two, do you know anyone personally that has already been working with them, and or were they happy with the situation? Number three, do they have legitimate reviews, right? Number four, are they educated in the space? When you talk to them, do you feel like they know what they're talking about, or do they just sound salesy? Right. It's one thing to know the subject; it's another thing to sell. So it's also intuition. Sometimes you just know you can trust somebody or not, and it takes a while, but definitely do your research before you work with somebody. And again, if you were to go through all of those precautionary measures and still have questions or doubt, it doesn't hurt to send in the diamond, because you may, let's just say you spent $30,000 on a 2 carat diamond, to get it regraded or looked at again from GIA to make sure it's the same diamond. It may cost you a couple of $100, but it might be worth the investment if you want to make sure for your peace of mind, because you did spend, you know, $20,000-$30,000 on that diamond. So it might make sense to just have it re-reported.
That makes sense.
Or rechecked, I mean.
And with that, we can go into like how, you know, because of the demand and supply went up for synthetic gems, there's a course now, right, at GIA. You were just there over the past weekend for Linda's birthday.
So I'm not sure what happened there. Actually, I'm not going to say the equipment's name, or else it's going to turn on. It was a voice activated, and it just started talking, which is a little freaky. But
talking about synthetics, really crazy here. Anyway, so yes, so now there's a GIA seminar, Advanced Synthetic Diamond Seminar is what it's called. You were just there, right? So. Did you want to talk about that a little bit? And something that you didn't have when you attended, right? It's where basically this course is about diamond identification techniques, and you're breaking down the material, characteristics, processes of what makes it different, separates it from natural.
So yes, so there is a course for GIA at the moment where people that may be interested, businesses, at the same time, just individuals or hobbyists that may be interested in the space, can definitely attend to identify the difference between a synthetic versus a natural. That was definitely not a course that was around when I was there at GIA. So I find it very valuable at the moment. You know, I think the value comes in two places, right? So it's valuable, but at the same time it's not. And what I mean by that is this, right? It's valuable to go there and to know exactly how GIA identifies from one to the next, but it still requires specific types of very sophisticated equipment, different ways of actually making sure. So even by going there and learning the process, it doesn't guarantee that you will be able to identify it when you go back to your workspace unless you invest into the same type of equipment. And most jewelry companies won't have their own individual lab, right? Because then that's why they outsource it to labs like GIA, and that's the reason why GIA exists, to help businesses make sure that they are offering exactly what they're selling, right? So so to me anyway, it's valuable to know how they're doing it, which is the purpose of the course, but ultimately I think it's important for businesses that are in the jewelry business to still depend on sending out the stones to the lab to make sure, if they really wanted to make sure, unless they're going to invest into their own lab, which most businesses probably won't do.
With your experience on, you know, taking courses there, do you think there are going to be more classes covering synthetic gems?
I think so.
And what do you think, like, one like interesting class would be?
I think so. I think GIA, the way they continue to exist, is dependent on the existence of the jewelry industry altogether.
Right.
So if the jewelry industry is going to evolve from a natural to a synthetic space, or a combination of both, it's in their best interest to make sure that they're relevant to the times. So yes, to answer your question, I definitely believe that there will be more courses in the future to not only identify synthetics, but maybe to eventually maybe even to eventually promote synthetics. Well, GIA doesn't you know, I want to make sure I take a step back. GIA does not promote one or the other. They're more for educational purposes. But when I was there, it was definitely more about naturals versus synthetics. But I think definitely over time, if they want to stay relevant to the times and stay in business, they should definitely have more courses that are focused on synthetics because of the fact that it's becoming so popular.
Are these new courses that are being added on? Like, I think in the article that I read, this seminar is adding on to 60 years of scientific research into natural treated synthetic diamonds, 80 years of industry-leading gemological educational programs. Do you think that all these new ones that are being added on, do you think that you'd be interested in learning about those from those?
I would definitely be interested, but you know, going back to what I had mentioned, it's one thing to learn. Well, the difference between where I was 5 years ago when I attended GIA, when I was just really starting to jumpstart the business
Mm-hmm.
here at Fire and Brilliance, and to where I am here today. If I am to take off the GIA for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, then no one will be running the business. So for me personally, I don't think I would be able to have the time to go any longer. Now, but the beauty of it, going back to what I had mentioned earlier, is that just because I don't study it, I can rely on a company like GIA if I wanted to make sure that the diamond is a synthetic versus a natural.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, if I am to sell a natural diamond, and we do sell natural diamonds. Most people know us for moissanite, but by request, we do sell natural diamonds. That
Fire and Brilliance covers all
Right.
sparkle.
Right. And so I would definitely send it to GIA because I trust them. I trust that they
Mm-hmm.
have the right equipment, right educational purposes, right people in place, right basically experience
Mm-hmm.
to identify it, and therefore it does not require my time to go and study it because I can just trust them that they will definitely do the right thing, because again, they won't jeopardize their whole institution to do the wrong thing, and there's a lot of processes in place, to check and balances to make sure that's the right stone.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, so let's officially spill the tea on what we think about
What should
all
we
of this.
spill the tea on? Hopefully
don't
not
know.
this desk.
Not the electronic.
No.
Oh no. Okay. All right.
Oh, by the way, for those that are going to check out this on our YouTube playlist, we'll go ahead and provide the links of the articles.
Sure.
Just in case you want to
Yes.
read up about it.
Yeah.
As well as the course at GIA if you're interested at all.
Yeah. And if you're a podcast listener, we just pretended to spill the tea, but we really didn't, because that would be bad.
But the beauty of podcasts is people could use their imagination, so we might have just spilled the tea.
Ooh. Totally spoiled things for you guys. I'm so sorry. Okay, anyway. So what do we think? Ask me questions.
So what I think is, well, what does this mean overall to
Sure.
the industry, and what does this mean overall to the consumer?
Mhm.
As a consumer, if I was a consumer, like, whoa, what the heck is going on here? I'm worried. Are my diamonds real? Are my diamonds not real? Are
Right.
they synthetics? Are they not?
Who do we trust?
Who do we trust, right? So naturally, as a consumer, I think I would say, what should I do? Who should I trust? Are my current diamonds real? Where do I even start, right?
Where did my money go?
Where exactly?
Did it go to the right people?
Exactly. Did the right people, or did I get the right thing that I thought I had paid for?
Yes.
Right. So, so I think, from that standpoint, I think, these questions should be asked. From that standpoint, I think it's the right questions to ask, because we are, in a transition or evolution in our society where technology is very advanced. Not only from everything that we do, we're all stuck on our phones these days. We're on social media. We know all that stuff. But even when it comes to product-based items that used to be natural can now be made, right?
Mhm.
So it's definitely a concern, and it should not be something that scares people away from buying a natural. Again, as long as what I believe is make sure you're working with the right people,
Yeah.
right? Just like anything else, anything that you buy, regardless if it's a diamond or
Ask all the questions, people.
ask all the questions, right? Whether it's a branded item, an unbranded item, whether you're buying a home or a car or whatever it is that you're buying,
Mhm.
make sure you ask the right questions. Make sure you work with the right people. Follow your intuition, and if not, there are places out there that can verify, like GIA, right? Especially if it comes to jewelry.
Mhm.
So I think there's nothing to be afraid of. I think our purpose here is to just make sure that we bring awareness that these things are happening. And just to make sure that people do understand that they should be cautious, especially if they've never worked with these, a specific business before, to do all the research. But from a industry standpoint, I think, what I think is this. Now, how does this affect not just the industry as a whole? Will the traditional businesses start adopting synthetics? Right? Will like De Beers, the episode that we had talked about previously.
Previous episode,
Right?
y'all.
So will they start adopting it and understand that it's part of the evolutionary process?
Right, and what about
Or-
the people?
Right.
The people that are investing into this the thoughts, first of all, and also the products. I know that we get like mixed feedback sometimes from people that are very firm in their standpoint about like natural and synthetic, or just like lab made, man-made. And I'm wondering if they're going to be changing, wavering their thoughts about this stuff, because they've been so firm in their thoughts to begin with. So I'm wondering, since all these other companies are adopting these things, like, I'm wondering if their thoughts as well will change. Like, oh, maybe I should be looking into lab-grown things. Maybe I should be looking to man-made stuff, because it's just a matter of what you like.
Right. Which is what we're all about in terms of providing options. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're happy, then it's worth it.
Yes.
If you're not happy, then it's not worth it. So if you're all about naturals, then go for it. If you're not about naturals, then go for it, right? So that the whole point is, if you're going to buy it and spend your own money, make sure you buy what you like. Right, but
I hope.
Yeah, right? That's the idea. And based on my experience and the evolution of seeing all people's comments, the people that follow us, or even reviews, or people that leave comments on our YouTube channel, and those type of things, it's definitely evolved over the years quite a bit. When we first started, obviously there are a lot of people, and there's still a lot of people just unliking our stuff only because they're, I mean, I don't know why, it's educational purposes, but they're unliking
Haters
it.
don't hate.
But obviously, I think they're more probably about the naturals. But people used to leave comments and say, "Oh, I'm buying this because I'm trying to save money for a real diamond in the future. So this is going to be the alternative for now, right?" We used to get a lot of those type of reviews, comments, feedbacks. These days, it's completely changed. These days, like, I would totally prefer a moissanite over a diamond. I don't understand why people would spend that much money on a diamond when they could buy something just as nice and use that money and invest in like their future, such as if they're gonna get married, then they need to fund that wedding, or they may want to save that money to buy a home, or to pay off a student loan, or right. So there are many other ways, because at the end of the day, right, money is just the option of doing and making another decision, right? So those are more of the current reviews, feedbacks, comments that
people
we
don't
get.
know until they try.
Right. So it's definitely evolved. So to your point, will the future hold more synthetics? Will the industry start adopting synthetics? How is that going to happen? My opinion is this. Now, if the traditional jewelry businesses do not adopt synthetics, then they may potentially miss out on what the evolution of the industry, right? Just like my example last week, Toys R Us is completely out of business, right? And they were a huge company. They didn't adopt e-commerce quickly enough. They didn't adopt doing things more of the modern way quickly enough. We just heard today that Orchard Supply is going to close. Hardware. Just for people all over the United States, or anyone that's listening, Orchard Supply, I'm not sure exactly how many states they're in, but for sure they're very present in California, and they're basically a direct competitor of like a Home Depot. So they
Lowe's
supply,
had bought them out, and then was going to renovate with them. But
now they're also out of business. And so it's just, something that worked in the past does not guarantee that will continue to work in the future. And I think that this awareness is extremely important for people that may have been debating between naturals and synthetics. I think, at the end of the day, if you're the consumer, it's all about preference. But if you're a business, it's all about being relevant. And that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the last JCK show that I went with you. There were courses that you were attending where they were talking about how the jewelry industry should be more present on social media, and it was like a while away from when social media had already just like been out there. So and we've been on social media for a while too, so it was just like weird that we were just hearing this now. But yeah, like people thought that social media would just be like a temporary thing, like, oh, it's just a fad, it's just gonna go away. No, it blew up. Like
Right.
you've got to be on there. If you're not on there, who knows you anymore? Who can hear about you from like miles away?
Isn't it mind-boggling how the world has changed so much only in the last 10 years? Before that, I
Yes.
mean, we're just on our flip phones. Okay, we went online on a desktop, right? But now social media is the new online world, right? So when you
Yeah.
go online, typically you're on one of the few platforms of either Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, what
And
have you.
VR is coming into play
Right.
also, so it's like we're gonna be able to shop from home anywhere, everywhere.
Eventually.
Eventually.
And to your point, right before talking about this, I think if that is going to be the case, and we're not actually going out to shop physically in physical stores any longer in the future, we may need a gym membership or something just to make sure that we're constantly moving.
Yeah, we don't want this to be a case of
Uh-huh.
Wally.
Right, Wally. There, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but yeah, I mean, going back to the idea of what's going on, I really think it's actually a benefit to the consumer. I think it's a beautiful thing that this is happening. I think that prior to synthetics, people that wanted to follow the traditional idea of proposing before getting married were more or less had one option, unless they wanted like natural colored stones or whatnot. But the idea was to buy a natural diamond, and a lot of times they didn't have the budget for it, or a lot of times they didn't feel like it was worth that. A lot of times they might have other reasons why they didn't want to do it, but because they wanted to make sure that they do propose, then they that was one narrow path that they had to choose. These days, with synthetics of all types of synthetics, from moissanite to lab diamonds to lab colored stones to all that, it has opened up the doors for people of all budgets, of all choices, of all options, of all ranges, of any ideas of whatever it is they want to do, because of the beauty of options. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I think that, but that's my opinion, right? And I think that's something that the world is going towards, because I think they find value in it.
I agree.
Yeah. So, so that's the idea of this episode. The whole GIA synthetic diamond seminar, identifying natural diamonds or synthetic diamonds that were sent back as natural diamonds, or as a scam. So the whole idea of this is to make sure we bring awareness to our audience. So I hope everyone enjoyed this podcast and playlist. And until next time, I definitely look forward to continue to talk to you, Sid. Matter of fact, many of you may not know, Sid and I, we work together, but we're both so busy that we probably maybe have 1 or 2 conversations per week, and most of the times it's actually in a meeting. Other
Or
than
sometimes when I'm pouring blueberries into my oatmeal, and then you
Blueberries.
just pass by going, blueberries, and then we have like a 5-minute exchange of blueberries saying,
saying blueberries.
yeah, same blueberries.
And in another way of saying it, more like blueberries.
Blueberries.
So, thanks again, everyone. And if you haven't already checked out our podcast, we're on SoundCloud, okay? And if you are checking us out on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment, let us know what you like, what you don't like. We definitely accept all feedback, okay? And we're totally stoked about everything we're doing here. So support us, and I'll see you again next time. Goodbye.
Bye.